Alright, and the headline says, prepare for eventual exit from Nigeria, Ohaneze Youth Council tells Southeast. So guys, if I have the current trending news this morning, this is on the headlines of Sahara Reporters and some other news medias. So this particular update is coming from Ohaneze Youth Council. The president and the team members have actually teamed up to actually send a very heavy message to Southeasterners, to Ndi Igbo, to Biafrans. And I'm going to go down on the details of this article because the Ohaneze Youth Council has actually risen up to actually say that this marginalization, this treatment, the detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and everything happening to indigenous people is actually going to come to an end. Now, because Southeasterners say have prepare for eventual exit at any time now again. Recently, the president of the US and the prime minister of Israel has actually been doing a whole lot of things. I mean, concerning KC about the indigenous people in Nigeria. So the Ohaneze Youth Council have also sent a very heavy message to Southeast. And get into the article in full, the content of their message. And the update says, alright, dated January 1st, 2026. Igbo Ayaka said the new year should mark a turning point for the Igbo people, stressing that truth must be spoken plainly and without fear. The Ohaneze Youth Council (OYC) has urged the Igbos in Nigeria's southeast region to begin preparation for an eventual exit from Nigeria, citing decades of marginalization, unresolved post-civil war injustice, insecurity, and what it termed the failure of the Nigerian state. The call was contained in a New Year message issued on January 1st, 2026 by the national president of the Ohaneze Youth Council, Igbo Ayaka. Igbo Ayaka said the new year should mark a turning point for the Igbo people, stressing that truth must be spoken plainly and without fear. As we enter a new year, truth must be spoken plainly and without fear. Igbo Ayaka said, adding that Ndi Igbo have prolonged their suffering in Nigeria like the Jews in Egypt. He urged Igbo people to stop dying in Nigeria and begin preparation mentally, politically, economically, and diplomatically for departure from what he described as a hostile system. Igbo Ayaka traced what he described as the marginalization of Ndi Igbo to the aftermath of the 1967 to 1970 Civil War, alleging that the reconciliation program announced by the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, amounted to continued punishment of the Igbo people. He claimed that the post-war period was marked by economic dispossession, including the policy of returning 20 pounds to Igbo citizens, regardless of the amount held in their bank accounts before the war. According to him, the reconstructions, rehabilitations, and reconciliation 3Rs program was never implemented in any part of Igbo land or Biafra territory. The OYC president said the resurgence of pro-Biafra movement from the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra, MASOB, to the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, was a direct consequence of unresolved injustice against Ndi Igbo. It did not arise out of hatred or rebellion for its own sake, but from the decades of exclusion, broken promises, and denial of dignity, he said. He also condemned the arrest and continued detention of IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, describing it as an extraordinary rendition and a violation of international law. Igbo Ayaka called on the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to grant Kanu unconditional release, saying it would help redeem Nigerians' image before the international community. Igbo Ayaka further described Nigeria as a state overwhelmed by corruption and economic decay, alleging large-scale looting by political elites, and urging that the country had lost the moral authority to preach unity and patriotism. According to him, Ndi Igbo face political marginalization, economic targeting, and rotting profile across the country, leaving no clear hope or future for an Igbo man within the Nigerian political system. Calling on Igbo youth to rise with purpose and clarity, the OYC leader said the council would intensify political mobilization ahead of the 2027 general election in the southeast. We must retire all political saboteurs and oppressors in Igbo land in 2027, he said, adding that elected representatives should support calls for a referendum or plebiscite as a democratic right of the people. Iboyaka announced that the Ohaneze Youth Council would lead a major campaign for a referendum or plebiscite on self-determination throughout 2026, insisting that the right of the people to freely determine their political future is guaranteed under the international law. He rejected what he described as Nigerians' forced and involuntary unity, urging that the 1914 amalgamation no longer meets the needs of peaceful coexistence. Unity without justice is oppression, and unity without consent is occupation, he said. Describing Nigeria as a failed state plagued by widespread killing, he called on the traditional rulers, town union presidents, and community youth leaders in Igbo land to collaborate in forming vigilante groups to protect lives and properties. The OIC president warned against the use of force against campaigners advocating a referendum, saying any form of brutality would be resisted and cautioning that a repeat of the violence of the Civil War era must be avoided. This new year must mark a decisive shift, he said, adding that history would remember those who spoke when silence was convenient and those who acted when fear was fashionable. Alright, so now I'm going to know the details of the update from the Ohaneze Youth president and the team concerning what they are actually putting in place for 2026. If you ask me, well, I would say that the movement, if actually they will keep to their words, the movement is going to be a very massive one, because the marginalization on Ndibo is actually getting out of hand by the day. But thank God that the international bodies, I mean the likes of Donald Trump and Netanyahu, that's the Israel Prime Minister, are actually doing the needful. Because coming through in a time like this, you know what it means to Ndibo. So at this point that the OIC are actually coming out to make this movement, because according to the update in this particular update, the news said that they are putting in place all everything they are doing within their strength. Here we do what is called, a campaign for referendum. So that is why they made it known to Southeastern, and they should start preparing any moment from now that they will start exiting Nigeria, because that marginalization has become too much. I mean, even the continuous detention of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is even a very big red flag. So they actually made it categorically clear in this particular update in Wetaron that they will start doing the needful as time goes on. So this is a time to give them all the support that we need, because they are actually on the right track. That is, if, like I said, they will keep to their words. This is a very nice movement. I mean, if we have people like this coming to speak out on behalf of Ndibo, I mean, we'll go a long way. Let it not just be about Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Now that he has been detained, it is time for the youth, just like the Ohaneze Youth Council have risen. It's a time to begin to actually take more strategical movements concerning all these things. And Ndibo, unafugon ko see about businesses in Ndibo and Lagos during the festive period. Like from every angle, they are doing everything possible to see that Ndibo remains silenced in this country. So this is the headline coming from Ohaneze Youth Council, and let's watch and see what their efforts towards this update will actually look like. So anyway, now for this particular video from, if you have watched to this particular length, do well to share the video. Can does always super right with fear. Drop your opinions and your comments on the comment section, and do not forget, share button. Somebody else needs to see this update. Thank you. See you guys in my next video.